Good evening, friends. Welcome to the daily answer writing session at 10 p.m. Today, I have selected a very important topic from the General Studies Paper 3, Economy section pertaining to agriculture. We have seen that in the last couple of months, there has been a demand to legalize MSP. So there was an editorial in today's newspaper in Business Line that should this MSP be legalized or not. We will see the editorial and then we will try to frame a question and we will try to frame an answer. Okay, so let us begin analyzing the editorial. Okay, so I hope this is visible. Okay, so this was the editorial today. Okay, so the main crux of the editorial is that MSP will legalizing MSP is not going to help neither the farmers nor it is not going to help the food security of the country. So we will try to understand what is the argument made in the editorial, and then we will try to frame a question and we will try to write a model answer to the question. Okay, so let us first try to understand what is MSP. Okay, what is MSP and why it was introduced and what purpose it has served in the last 50 years. Okay, so MSP was introduced in 1960s. MSP was introduced in the 1960s. Okay, basically when India was facing food security problem, and it is like an income support to the farmers, which motivates them to basically grow grains. Okay, that is an income security. It acts as an income security to the farmers. We all know that agriculture is a risky business, and there are various kinds of risk, starting from a market risk. So this MSP basically tries to solve the problem of market risk, that it will give the farmers at some minimum price for their produce. Okay, so it will basically ensure income security. The key word here is income security. So MSP at present is basically given for 23 crops. Okay, announced for 23 crops, and the government procures and maintains and runs a public distribution system through that procurement. So MSP and procurement and the distribution and the public distribution system, everything is linked. Okay, you have to understand that everything is linked. Okay, so let us try to see what are the arguments in favor of legalizing MSP and what are the arguments in opposition of legalizing MSP. So what I have done is that I have analyzed this editorial and I have put this point into two parts. Okay, so let me just okay, so the question which I have framed today is basically that should MSP be legalized or not. So what are the arguments in favor of legalizing MSP and what are the arguments in opposition of legalizing MSP? Okay, so the first and foremost argument is that it will act as income security. It will act as an income security for the farmers. Okay, income security for the farmers, and it will basically protect them from various kinds of market risks. Okay, market risks. Okay, we all know that I have already explained to you that farming is a very risky profession and there are various kinds of market risks involved in farming. Okay, generally what happens is that whenever the production of agriculture crop happens, so the demand falls and the production is in like lump sum amount, but the demand does not comes in lumps. So that what happens, that the market prices crash and the farmers are not able to even basically get their cost of production. And that is why farming in India is not very viable. Economically, it is not very viable. So MSP is an instrument which will make farming viable, and MSP will also help in basically income security of the farmers, and MSP will also help in basically doubling of farmers' income. Doubling of farmers' income. See, our government has the goal of doubling the farmers' income, and if we legalize MSP, it will help in doubling of farmers' income. That is the first point what you can make: income security to the farmers, protection from various kinds of market risk. Next, legalizing MSP will basically act as a price stabilizing mechanism. See, at present, what happens is that many a times what happens that the market prices falls below MSP. So if there is a legal MSP where even the private traders are forced to buy, okay, crops at a minimum support price, what will happen is that it will tend to stabilize the market. It will tend to stabilize the market, and generally market prices will not fall below MSP. So farmers will not incur losses. Farmers will not incur losses. We have seen various instances where farmers have just put their crops on roads. Why they have thrown their crops on roads? Because they are not getting the value for their crops, because the prices in the market have crashed. So when we legalize this MSP, what would happen? That such kind of crash in the market prices would not happen. It will act as a price stabilizing mechanism for the farmers. Next, what will happen? It will protect the farmers during bumper production. Bumper production, I have already explained to you what happens in the bumper production. The prices dip very sharply. Okay. Next, what will happen? That it will protect the farmers from various kinds of risk, which I have already told. One more important benefit of legalizing MSP, what happens is that, see, at present, what is the problem is that there are various crops where India is, or food grains where India is dependent on basically imports. Okay, for example, pulses. Okay, for example, oil seeds. India is dependent on imports. When we legalize MSP and when we establish a procurement mechanism where the produce of the farmers are procured by the government at a minimum support price for all the crops, but including these pulses and oil seeds, then what would happen is that these imports will reduce. So the problem of current account deficit can also be basically managed. Okay, these are some of the pros of minimum support price for all the crops. When you make it a legal guarantee, you make it for all the crops, all the 23 crops. Okay, that is the points in favor of legalizing farming MSP. Okay, basically 3-4 points you have to keep in mind. It will give income security. To farmer. It will improve food security. For example, I told you that we are dependent on imports of pulses, imports of oil seeds. So when we legalize this MSP, what would happen? That farmers will be motivated to produce these crops also, because there is a procurement mechanism placed for procuring these crops also. So the cropping pattern might be checked. Cropping pattern which was getting distorted might be checked if there is a legal MSP for each and every crop. Okay, that these are some of the points in favor. But let us try to analyze why economists, particularly the economists, are against this legalizing of MSP. So first and most important problem is that it will be fiscally unsustainable. There are estimates that government might have to basically spend 12 lakh crore rupees. So huge fiscal burden. And one of the member of the Supreme Court appointed committee, I think he said that it might lead to bankruptcy of the government also. So high fiscal strain on government. And we all know that government of India is already facing the fiscal burden, and fiscal deficit is very high. So in such situations, when you have this legalizing of MSP, it will further fiscally burden the government. Okay. Second thing, what it do, it is that it will lead to inflationary effect. Because even the private traders will be forced to buy at some minimum support price, and that will basically in turn will be added in the cost of the commodities, and it will lead to what? It will lead to inflation. We already are facing a challenge of inflation in these last couple of years, and inflation has been very sticky. Okay, so in that context, if the food inflation also starts rising, then managing inflation would become a very big problem. Next point is that, see, just legalizing MSP will not do. Government will have to procure these grains and store these grains. So there needs to be a system. There needs to be a complete system for procurement and storage of the grains. See, at present, according to Shanta Committee report, only 6% of the farmers, they get MSP. Only 6% of farmers get MSP. Just imagine what kind of challenge, what kind of operational challenges Government of India will face, FCI will face, if it has to procure crops from all the 100% farmers. At present, only 6% of the farmers, or now I think it is 10%, because Shanta Committee report was around 2014-15. Now it is around 12% of the farmers, they get MSP. So once you give legalized MSP for each and every farmer, what will happen is that the operational challenges, the infrastructural challenges would be huge. It will be huge for Government of India, and that will also incur a lot of cost. Not just operational challenges, manpower challenges will happen. Okay, so that is also a very big problem. Further, what will happen that if we give MSP to these 23 crops, other crops like vegetables, fruits, many farmers will start asking for that also. That will start asking MSP for those crops also. So there will be no end. There will be no end, and it will be fiscally disastrous. It will be fiscally disastrous. So it might distort the market also. So there are huge negatives also, particularly on the front of managing via the cost. The cost of procurement would be very high, and that will entail a lot of fiscal burden on the Government of India. Okay, it will have what? It will have operational challenges also. It will have inflationary effect also. One more point which you can make is that at present, what is there? There is a regional diversity or disparity in procurement. If you see, rice is procured only from like around 6 to 7 states. 80 to 90% of the rice is procured from 6 to 7 states. Similarly, 80% of the wheat is procured from only the Western India. Okay, Punjab, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, these states. Okay, so there is a regional disparity at present as far as MSP is concerned. So once you basically legalize this MSP, okay, it will become a huge operational challenges for the government. So there are pros, there are cons also. So what is the way out? What is the way out? Can Government of India give legal MSP? And there will be might be concerns regarding WTO, because it might distort the trade. There is some limitation that government can give subsidy to some level only. So there are some international concerns also. India government can face some international concerns also. Then in the end, what you can do, in the end, you can conclude that rather than giving MSP, what we can do is they can go for some other ways also. Some other ways, for example, we can go for price deficiency system. And overall, what we need to do is we need to increase the productivity of farming. Okay, rather than supporting them through income, what we have to do is we have to improve the productivity. That is what will basically make the farming sustainable. Okay, because any kind of subsidy driven approach is not viable in the longer run. Okay, rather than subsidy, what government can do, government can increase investments, public investment in agriculture sector, which will basically reduce the cost of farming and increase the efficiency of farmers. Okay, so this was it for today. In future, okay, in future we will be taking every day we will be taking one topic, and we will try to analyze the editorial, and we will try to write one model answers. Okay, please subscribe to the channel if you are liking these kinds of discussions. we will continue. We will increase also number of editorials. If you like, you can comment in the comment box if you want some of the editorials, number of editorials to be increased, or number of the questions which I am taking to be increased. Okay, so I hope that these things are helping you. Please let us know through your comments